Last week we looked at Arsenal. This week we go just a little bit further down the table of last year's standing and take a look at Liverpool. This is Red Card Radio. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're listening from. Thanks for tuning in. Red Card Radio is a weekly look at the Premier League from a collection of friends who support different clubs. My name is James. I support Arsenal. With me tonight, down below, that's Sean. He supports Tottenham. And welcome back, as always, to the podcast, Tamzeed. He supports Liverpool Football Club. We decided to get rid of Brad this week because, we don't need any more hot takes. But like I said, we're kind of in the part of the summer where we're looking at the clubs, seeing what transfers we think they need, things like that. If you missed last week's episode, we took a look at Arsenal. Kind of got pressed. I kind of got pressed on different positions, what we thought Arsenal needed. So if you are interested in that, why don't you go take a look at that video. You'll be able to find it in the season 5 playlist on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcast from. While you're there, you might as well hit that subscribe button, ring the sub notification bell, hit the podcast with a follow, like 5-star, whatever your platform so allows. And if you could share it with someone or this episode with someone, those things really do help us out tremendously. So without further ado, Tamzeed, welcome back. Hello. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Glad to be back. My annual appearance.
Are you looking forward to the new regime at Liverpool Football Club?
The Harkonnen era begins.
Yeah, you guys have joined the bald circus that is the Premier League these days.
I know. We're having a generational bald off in the Premier League now. Cannot wait. Maybe I'll lose my hair watching next season. It'll be great.
Well, that's an interesting conundrum that you're in, because Liverpool. Maybe we start with kind of like your high level view on last year as a Liverpool supporter for probably close to 25 or 30 years now. You have gotten to the point now where you've seen a lot of Liverpool, and you've seen the down days in the early thousands, and the recent success that Liverpool had under Klopp. How are you? Well, let me start with this. What was your read on last year? Were you obviously disappointed in the tail off towards the end of the year? Any glimmer of hope that you took away from last year?
I mean, I think overall, like, to contextualize the whole season, it was fine. It was what I was expecting. I was like Europa plus top 4. We got top 4 and League Cup, roughly the same achievement. But I think the middle tail, I guess, the middle third, lower third of the season, like March and April, basically, essentially, we were poor, and I think we were particularly poor because more so than getting a new manager, like tactics and all that. I think we needed a massive overhaul in backroom staff, like in terms of nutritionists, physios, medical teams, all that. And I think towards the end, that middle part of the season, we essentially played with academy kids because we had so many injuries, and the kids were playing better than expected, right? Like the kids were actually performing really really well, and I feel like once the first teamers came out, they immediately got shoved into the starting 11. None of them look fit. None of them look like they've had kicked the ball in 3 months, and that tailed off our season poorly. And they eventually played themselves back into form for the last 5 or 6 games of the season. By that point, the season was over, right?
Yeah.
Title race over, Europa League over, FA Cup over, right? And the fact that we couldn't be united at all last season is probably the biggest low point in the season, because they are terrible.
I mean, you guys should have beat them in the FA Cup, and to squander, you guys were up 2 in going into late into the second half, I think, and you squandered.
We were winning in extra time with 2 minutes left in extra time.
Yeah.
So to then get sucker punched immediately off of 2 very avoidable goals, right? Like one was Darwin playing a crossfield pass in his
Yes.
own 25-yard,
Yeah.
and the other was like right off the kickoff. Like it was not it was just like heads were lost,
Mhm.
right? And like that's another case of, mainly it was another case of like the players who just came back from injury immediately shoved into the starting lineup with like no prep work at all. So I think a new approach was needed, mainly from like a backstage personnel requirement, right? Like new physios, new nutritionists, new doctors, because we can't keep going into seasons and losing like the entire team every time. Like this has been going on every year since 2020. Like we can't keep doing this every year.
Yeah, I think that's Sean's favorite thing to say is that if it keeps happening, you can no longer like it becomes a you problem when those like backroom type things, injuries, whatever, right, Sean?
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that's right. That's my large point with Brad complaining about injuries at Chelsea year after year is okay. Well, what have you done to address it? Because it's clearly a systemic problem. So
yeah, like it happens once, you can like sort of write it off as like bad luck. But if it just like keeps happening over, especially because like we go through these phases where like players will come back and immediately get injured in like 2 games, right? So like these like repeat injuries are like a thing that should not happen.
Those are
By
really avoidable.
Yeah, like they're like it's criminal if they like repeat injury like
Yeah.
immediately right after.
Now, okay, with all that said, how do you feel about the Klopp departure and then the subsequent hiring of Sloot? Like, are you what are your feelings?
Uh I don't know. Towards the end, I was fine with Klopp leaving because I feel like the change was all right. It was necessary. It was a good way to leave, right? You could always leave poorly, and I think that if he stayed past his welcome, he could have left like Wenger, and I didn't want him to leave like Wenger. I feel like that would.
Wow.
No,
Wow.
it is. I mean, it is true though. Like you don't want to leave like Wenger, right? Like, and so like, it's not like an insult. It's just like a fact. Like, yeah, you don't want to be
As a
pounded out by your own fans
as a
for like being for no reason, no good reason.
as a quick pushback on the going out like Wenger, he stayed through the Emirates change and then like the 10 years after that where we couldn't buy anyone, we had to sell all of our best players. And then we kind of we started trending back up. And then we lose to Chelsea in the Europa League final like the year after he leaves. So like I don't know, like we were trending up.
I understand. I completely understand. What I'm saying is that like it still didn't stop troops and
Yeah.
DT
Yeah.
from like
Yeah.
pounding him off every week,
Well,
right? Like
back when it was still Arsenal fan TV, they were pretty toxic in
yeah,
the 2016 to 2018 era.
it's not a surprise that like Arsenal get good after AFTV get banned. Like, like these things might be correlated.
Yeah, maybe. Well,
But like,
how do you feel about the new manager?
I have no idea about Arne's because he sort of came in like 4 days before he was like officially announced. Uh, Up until that point, it was like obviously like we had like the Alonso thing, and then Alonso rejected pretty much everybody because he's probably going to end up going to Real Madrid next year. Uh, and then we were then after Ruben Amorim.
Mm-hmm.
And then apparently Amorim was just not very good at these interviews. That's what like the word on the street is. And then we ended up settling for Arne Slot. And Slot's not like bad, but he is tactically the exact same as like Klopp. So like the transition's smoother, and the internal justification from the club is that they didn't want to hire managers who would like change the structure of the club from they want the youth academy to work in sync with the senior team so the players can just come in and out, because that's what the whole AXA training academy was. It was like the youth team and the senior team now train in the same building, right? So like it makes the transition easier, and you can kind of see the rewards for it. Like Kwanzaa comes in immediately goes in the first team. Looks like he's played Premier League football for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. So stuff like that. Connor Bradley, another one, just immediately comes in, fits in, looks like he's been playing here forever. Right. So like that definitely helps. So I understand the reasoning for it, but like it's gonna be hard to give like the big advantage of like a Javi was that he would always automatically have like the fans on his side, right? So like you could give him time to have like bad results, right? Whereas Arne Slot's coming in, he's not gonna have the most of the first team for the first couple of weeks, right? Like the players are gonna be coming back from holiday right before the season starts. Most of them are probably gonna miss the US tour. And so they're probably going to come in like early August. So they'll probably get like a couple weeks before the season starts. And so there is a good chance he ends up with like bad results early. And I feel like a manager like Alonso would have had better, like more, would be given more time from the fans, right? Whereas if a bald manager comes in with bad tactics, we're, oh, we're all back at it again.
All right. Well, Sean, do you want to take a look at the squad specifically? I think the way we kind of did it last week, we went position by position, not like right back, right center back. We just went kind of like goalkeeper, defense, midfield, attack in that kind of way. As long as that's cool with you, why don't you lead us there, Sean?
Yeah. Well, I think we can probably just skip goalkeeper. Allison's good. He's been good. He's going to be good. Just keep him.
We might sell our backup.
So
yeah,
Kelleher might be sold. I think. If that's the case, we'll probably end up signing some old goalkeeper for like cheap money.
Now, Allison's what, like he's like going to be 32 this year, something like that.
Yeah, so he's 31. Yeah, he turned 32 this year.
So I mean, he still has 6 good years in front of him, as long as he stays healthy. And
stays off the barbecue, yeah.
Yeah. So
the only goalkeeper I know that suffers from long-term injuries constantly. Like, this is gotta be something.
Do you get the feeling from him, or is there that he's willing to stay for much longer, or is like, do you think that there's a chance that like if things aren't going well, that he's gonna kind of be like, look, Klopp's gone, Salah's leaving, all of my boys are leaving, like I might want to leave too? Is there any concern?
That's the eternal fear, right? When Klopp's gone, it's like, well, like, does Van Dijk want to go?
Yeah.
Right? Does Trent want to go? And now we're hearing like these Trent to Real Madrid rumors, right? So like, there's always the possibility that like, where Klopp was basically like their father, now he's gone. Now you don't have like that deep connection to the club, right? You could probably, I don't think Allison's leaving. I don't think he's like that type of person.
I agree.
I don't think he's as long as he gets his Koga de Chao, he's not gonna leave.
So maybe
if he did want to go, that does have Barcelona overreaching with paying too much money written all over it. They would absolutely $50-60 million.
I think it's more likely he goes to like Saudi or something. I don't think Barcelona will. Barcelona financially are never going to be capable of paying that much money for a player again. I mean, they pretty much broke the bank for one title, and that's the end of that club. So unless they have weird, shady deals where they're going to like, I don't know, give us, I don't know, Lamine Yamal for like Allison, that's the only way this is going to work.
Well, isn't the rumor that PSG is going to sign Lamine Yamal for like 250 million euros this summer?
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. Apparently Barcelona turned that down. Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Yeah. There's no way.
They could get, if they did that, they could get their TV rights back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. It turned out 250 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any of the Spanish clubs are going for it. It's any player, once you reach like a certain point, the only place your players can go is like Real Madrid or Saudi.
Especially
and we're in that
in England, yeah.
In England, yeah. And we're in that point now where like I feel like most of these players are gonna go to Real Madrid or Saudi. Like So it's like Trent, who are like 25 or under, they'll probably try to go to Real Madrid. And if you're like 25 or older, you're probably going to Saudi.
Yeah. All right. Are we doing
Well,
center
you
back
touched on
next?
it a
Or
little bit.
we're doing right backs.
Yeah. I was going to say, you touched on it a little bit that you needed to address the Robertson problem and possibly looking at Van Dijk, at least in the next few years, turning that over, although Kwanzaa's pretty good. Yeah, what do you feel about the defenders?
The issue is like, okay, so like unless Van Dijk has like a drastic drop off in the next year, I think we're fine for center back. There's no good center backs in this market anyway. We'll have to see if in the next few years another better center back comes along, right? Like this market, like everybody's talking about Calafiori or whatever from Bologna, but like he's not really all that good. Like he's all right. Like he's fine. He's not a player you want to like break, the bank for. Like if you can get him for like 35 to 40 million, I think he's a good buy. But like, Bologna could probably try to like squeeze as much money out of it as possible.
I think Delict is potentially
Really
available. Well, I'm just saying, if you're talking about like high name recognition center backs,
Billy sucks.
all right, fair enough. Doesn't want him.
He is legitimately awful. He has been awful for Juventus. He was awful for Bayern, and I sincerely hope from the bottom of my heart that he ends up in Manchester United.
He certainly didn't live up to his potential. Like that, he had that big money transfer to Juve like 4 years ago, and it just never really seemed like he never seemed to merit that transfer valuation.
Well, like realistically, nobody from that Ajax 2019 team lived up to the hype, right? Hakim Ziyech turned out to be kind of crap. Frankie De Jong was all right, like mediocre. Who's the other kid that United signed? The Dutch one, and they loaned him out to 8 different clubs afterward. He was terrible. Like Donny van de Beek was terrible. Like nobody from that, like the other Brazilian, what is it, Neres or whatever? He never left because nobody wanted him. So nobody from that Ajax team actually panned out. That was kind of a lightning in a bottle squad. Like,
yeah.
Right? Like when you think about it, nobody else made it from there.
I was just looking down their roster from 2018, 2019 that Ryan Babel makes an appearance, which I had forgotten all about, that he was still floating around. That's funny.
Dude, they had Dusan Tadic in that team. It was wild.
Did they really?
The Ajax, yeah.
Huntelaar was probably player manager of some sort at that point of his career. But Huntelaar was on the team.
What about halfbacks? You got obviously like Liverpool have kind of a very established starting left and right backs in Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, but I get the feeling, and maybe this is just maybe this is my opinion, that Robertson is on I would say maybe he's declining, perhaps.
Oh no, he is declining. There is no. Yeah, you're correct. He is declining.
Yeah, and you stand up for Trent a lot. Like you are constantly defending Trent to at least Brad. I see that a lot. But he is he has been defensively frail for like 2 or 3 years now, and I wonder, maybe that was a thing that had to do with the system that Liverpool was playing and the way Klopp wanted him to go forward as much. But do you feel like there's room for improvement in either one of those positions? I think obviously you think left back.
If like Trent's name was like Trento Arnoldo and he was born in like Bari or something, right? He would be considered one of the best like deep lying playmakers in the world.
Sure.
But he's stuck in a league and in a country that has no culture for the game. I think he's stuck playing fish and chips ball.
I think his problem is that he is stuck playing right back. If he was,
he's stuck playing right back.
If he was like a right-sided 8, or like
like in any other country, right? A player with this kind of passing range gets put in midfield, and they take all responsibility away from him.
Yeah.
From defensively, right? They're just like, hey, just go out there, ball.
Well, we saw
right?
that. We saw that in the Euros. Is that Southgate tried to deploy him as a 6? But I think the
Yeah,
problem.
he played two people who are essentially similar in pattern, and neither one of them wanted to do like the hassle work of the 6.
Yeah.
Right. So like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna play like Pirlo, you have to play like Gattuso. You have to
Yep.
play like a Vidal, right?
Yep.
So if you're gonna play, it's the same with like Rice and Trent. If you're gonna play Rice and Trent, you have to play another one whose entire purpose in life is to run around and hassle other people. Because both Rice and Trent just want the ball to feet. Like they're both like on foot players. Like, and so like this man has never watched, like, you know what? I don't want to go into Southgate. I feel like I'm gonna lose my mind.
I'm sure you and Sean could do an hour on Southgate right now. I'll just put my feet up.
That man
Yeah,
does not fucking watch the game. He does not. I don't know what he's looking at. I just straight up don't.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion around the midfield throughout the Euros, and I saw this pretty frequent where people are like, "Well, what are you gonna take Jude off?" No, you play him in his freaking position. Play him as an 8 and stop trying to force him into a 10.
No, but Jude is a 10 though.
Yeah, but
Jude is he has like 25 from 10. What do you mean he's not gonna play? Like, sacrificing Jude Bellingham in the 10 to play like Cole Palmer is like such a mediocre move.
But Southgate doesn't want to play with like a true 10. Like he wants to play a 4-3-3 with 2 8s and a 6. And like this is what he wants to do. But then he plays like 3 10s at one time, and you're just like, what?
The eternal problem is he doesn't. Okay, so like I've said this for years, but like, you know who Luis Aragonés is?
I do not.
Okay, so Luis Aragonés was the manager of Spain when they won the Euros in 2008, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right. He is a legendary manager for Atletico Madrid, right? He when Atletico Madrid got relegated in the late 90s, he was their manager in the early 2000s, and then brought them up to the league again, got them in the Champions League, all that stuff, right? Anyway, Luis Aragonés, and this, I've been saying this for like 10 years now. England need a manager like Luis Aragonés, right? Because the first thing Luis Aragonés did is he came in and he kicked Raúl and Hierro straight out the team. Right? Xabi Alonso was not in the 2008 squad that won the Euros. And like, that's a kind of like ballsy decision that like Southgate cannot make. Like, he cannot bench Foden because he doesn't know why Foden's good, right? But he just assumes because Foden plays for the best team in the league, he has to be good, right?
It's funny because like Southgate tried to say that he made these ballsy decisions this year by leaving people like Calvin Phillips off the team and Harry Maguire off the team and Grealish off the team. And you're like, okay, but these aren't actually like players that are producing at a high level for their club. So like leaving them out of the team isn't actually that bold of you.
Yeah, right. Like, these are criminally underperforming players,
yeah,
who are already replaced in their clubs,
mm-hmm.
right? You're like, you saying that you're not gonna pick like Henderson for the team. That's not like a ballsy decision.
Yeah,
like, you have to be able to bench players who are like in the moment bad, right? Like, and like, you just won't do. No English manager is capable of doing, right? Like, they should have gotten rid of Rooney years before he was actually finished, right? Like, they do not like. You know what the best set piece team in the league is? It's Arsenal.
Right? Yeah, it's Arsenal.
Yeah. Arsenal, right? The best set piece team is. You know who takes corners and free kicks for Arsenal? It's Saka and Rice.
Yeah, it depends
right?
on the side.
You know who takes corners and free kicks for England? Foden.
Right. Oh, Foden.
Do you also know who Arsenal deployed to stand right in front of the goalkeeper on every set piece? Ben White. And what's Ben White doing? He's sipping mimosas on the beach in Mallorca or something like that.
Yeah. And like, you're picking Kieran Trippier, who has been humiliated up and down the countryside.
That's true.
Right? And like, this season, if you are still picking Kieran Trippier after the season he's had. I don't know what games you're watching or what is happening because I'm just good. He is. I sincerely want to be. I'm so jealous of Gareth Southgate. You could like. I've never seen a man this talentless fucking accomplish so much in his life. Like,
how did we get here? How are we talking about Gareth? What did I do?
Talking about using Trent.
yeah, we're talking about using Trent, and like how Southgate doesn't understand the concept of like. You think he has a 6? He has a real like defensive midfielder in his team. Adam Wharton from Crystal Palace, right? He has a real 6, but he proceeds to play like Kobe Mainu and like Rice and Trent and Connor Gallagher. It's like he literally has no idea what any of these players do. Like he's just like, hey, vibes. He plays for Chelsea. He must be good. Like
Yeah,
there's no rationale in like anything he's like done.
I mean, you heard he listened to Ian Wright's suggestion, so
Incredible. I've never seen
anyway.
manager actually succumb to like a pundit's like opinion.
All right.
The other one I've been beating my chest on the entire competition is you also have a high end electrifying left wing. Play Gordon. Like at least sub him on. At least bring him off the bench.
Like, if you're gonna play on transition, then just play fast players. Just play Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he flukes his way to another final, it's gonna be outrageous.
I think he's going to. I think
he's going to. He made the 2021 Euro final playing like Ukraine and Poland.
Yeah,
like
in 2021, they never left Wembley. Every single game they played was at Wembley.
Yeah. They didn't play any good teams. They didn't play any good teams in like the World Cup. The first good team they played, France, they immediately lost. It's the same in the 2018 World Cup. The first good team they played was Netherlands in the group. Not Netherlands, sorry, Belgium in the group. They lost. Then they played Croatia. Lost. Played Belgium again in the third place group. Lost. Like any good team they play, they lose. It's baffling.
They're gonna get absolutely annihilated by Spain in the final.
Yeah,
if they get there. All right.
If they get there, like
left back, right back. What do you want to do?
Right back is fine. Right back can whatever. Because Connor Bradley is like a very good player. Like Robertson is like in 30. Robertson's 30. Costas is about to be 29. Over the course of the season, so he's kind of like done, right? Like it'd be good to like move Costas along to like a Wolves or something and get a new left back. We've been linked with Ike Nuri from Wolves. I don't think he's very good. But the numbers people are back, and the numbers I trust the numbers people wholeheartedly. Right? Like Michael Edwards and like those are the people I fully trust with making transfers completely. So the numbers people are back, and like now we're linked to Ike Nuri. So like we'll see, but like I think a successor to Robertson should be in the plans because he's maybe got like another year or two left at the highest level.
Quickly before we go on to midfield, are you happy with the 4 center backs being Konate, Van Dijk, Gomez, and Quanish?
Yeah.
Kwanzaa, thank you. I couldn't remember how to pronounce it, and then I was reading it. And I was like, I know I'm saying this wrong.
You're fine. This is all fine. It's nice to have Gomez back as a center back instead of playing like auxiliary left back, or whatever. So it's fine. But
okay,
so center back I think is good.
You're happy with that? Okay. What about in the midfield? What are you? Because so you guys did a lot of work last summer in flipping the midfield, and like I think that was the main thing that you guys did last summer that drastically improved your team and took you from where you were 2 years ago to where you were last year. I think your midfield improvement made the team like right underneath where Liverpool, where Arsenal and City were. Like I think that was the main thing.
Fundamentally, I think Ryan Gravenberch might be done.
Oh wow.
I just don't think he just doesn't like try. Like I feel like the game just passes him by very easily. And so I feel like he was kind of handpicked by Klopp to come in, and he kind of didn't like. When you're like already flopping at another big club, right, and another manager personally picks you in, you kind of like owe it to the manager, right, to like perform hard,
Yeah.
right, and he just doesn't. Like he just kind of nonchalantly plays around stuff. Uh, and like he started off the season really well. Like I thought the first few games up until like October, he was very good. And then he just kind of like got comfortable and like I just don't think the mentality he has is like very good for this level. We're trading Thiago with Stefan Bajcic is back. So that's nice, I guess. Another six would be lovely, but I think the core principle of the club is to push Stefan Bajcetic into the starting six. Although I don't really agree with putting a 19-year-old in the starting six, uh, particularly for like a physically demanding role like six. Right? You should never play like teenagers there unless it's like the League Cup or something.
Yeah.
And like Endo is not very good. Like I think Endo is fine if you're playing Europa League ball. But if once the Champions League anthem hits, you should probably get a better.
He seemed to be a stopgap type signing. Like you didn't get Caicedo, and so it was like crap. We need a six. We need a central midfielder. Let's like Endo's available. Let's go get him and just.
Yeah, like the weird part is Caicedo's not a six either. So like,
yeah,
we would have like horrifically misprofiled him too. It just feels weird. Like that whole like transfer saga in retrospect makes like no sense.
It was very
Like,
strange.
It's very strange. Like all of a sudden you put like 115 mil bid. I've never seen this club put 100 mil bid for anybody.
It was
And like
it was out of left field.
it was out of left field. You were trying to get the kid from Southampton.
Oh yeah, Lavia.
Romeo Lavia,
Who
and
played
like
28 minutes for Chelsea last year.
yeah, who dodged a bullet? But like, and then you chucked like you were haggling Lavia for like 5 mil, right? Like, because like Southampton wanted 50, we were at like 45, right? Roughly 5 millish, right? And so like, uh, what is happening? Oh, sorry, I'm like losing my mind here.
It's okay.
I was just going to say before we got too far away that Gravenberch reminds me a little bit in the sense that you were mentioning a little bit of Basuma, where at times you're like, are you aware that they're keeping score and there's a time limit? Like, what? Let's go.
Yeah.
What are you doing? There's just like no urgency sometimes.
He does seem like he's got that kind of like.
Basuma does it all the time. I'm like, there's a time limit on this game. Please hurry up.
Yeah, right. There's a time limit on this game. Please hurry up. Anyway, Gravenberch he's defensively lacking. Like he's just constantly defensively lacking. It's very, very difficult to like get him to like focus. And I don't know. He just doesn't. I just don't think he fits the club like mentally. Like I don't think he fits the club very well. And so yeah, I just don't think he fits the club very well. So he probably should be gone.
I think the bones of your midfield are still very strong.
Yeah. Like I think the I don't have much complaints about the. I don't think there's much complaint about like the midfield itself. I think we'll be fine for another season, right? Like we can manage and then like assess afterwards. That's another problem when you have like a new manager in because he has to like assess the squad correctly.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't just like go willy-nilly into it.
Which is tough in this summer because of the Euros, all the European competitions, and
which is like extra tough this summer because of like Copa and Euro and all that.
Okay, so if we turn our attention more to the attack, then, if Saudi Arabia come back with $100 million for Salah, are you cashing that check?
Oh hell yeah! I feel like
Yes.
I just can't do this thing where like every year he has to go play for Egypt and then he comes back like a changed man. Like I can't be doing this thing every year where he's like got 18 goals at the start of the season and we're all like, "Oh my god, Salah's going to take the golden boot," and then score one exact goal the entirety of the second half of the season. This is 3 years in a row now. I can't do this. Like they can't do this. So he needs to either retire from Egypt or like I don't know, like go somewhere else. But I think Salah's fine. I think we can live with Darwin for a year because I don't think anybody's gonna buy him like without taking severe losses on it. Uh,
How much did you guys
I
pay
think,
for him?
68, but we also have like requirements, like stuff. If you meet criteria, it's another like 15 million, I think, on top of it. Uh, but I think Gakpo and Diaz should definitely be sold.
Oh,
Like,
wow. Okay.
Yes, really.
So
I think Diaz should go. Absolutely should go. Diaz is too scatterbrained to like be good. Like he's just not in it. He's just not locked in, bro. He's just not locked in. Uh, and then Gakpo is just too soft. Like Gakpo is like Fabregas put it really well earlier in the Euros against like Austria. The player that you have to constantly tell what to do. Like he doesn't like think on his feet. And after you've seen like Mane and Salah terrorize the league, you just kind of like expect wingers to like not be like robots, not to be like constantly you have to like assure them that they're like doing a good job and all that, right? They should just like be good. Like they should just make correct decisions. Really, a lot of because we underperformed the most in XG last season, and
I I can believe that.
that's literally because we have players who make bad decisions, right? Like it's people always compare Darwin to like Timo Werner and like Morata. He's the opposite, right?
Oh.
He's the opposite of that, right? Morata and Varner are two players who will like get into the right zone, make the right decisions, and they just don't have the technical ability to follow through, right? Even today, Morata was on a 1v1 and the ball fumbled on his own
True.
foot,
Fair.
right?
Fair. Yeah.
But Darwin's the opposite. He will chip a 6'5" keeper, right? But like he just doesn't know what to do, right? We all collectively owe Michael Owens an apology because the game against Brentford, where he did chip Van Bruggen or whatever, the giant goalkeeper, uh, and Owen put out a tweet that was like, no, not taking anything away from the goal, but why didn't Darwin just literally round the keeper and put it into an empty net? There's no need to make it so much harder, and he does that constantly. He just doesn't make the right decision when like he just plays at his best when it's like instinctive. He doesn't have to think about anything. Like he just vibes, like purely based on vibes. Uh, and so like I feel like we can tolerate Darwin vibes for a year just for like chaos purposes. But like I feel like Gakpo and Diaz are just not it, and I would rather honestly, I'd rather see Soboslai go to left wing. He's played left wing for Leipzig. He played left wing for Hungary. He just comes in here and he starts playing as a center midfielder, and he's been fine as a center midfielder. He started off the season really well. I still think he needs surgery because like he just looked dejected the entirety of the second half of last season, like especially after coming back from injury, and then he looked in incredible pains for Hungary the entire tournament. I think he was stretchered off at the last game, so like he definitely needs like surgery. Like he probably or like he's definitely been rushed back like several times.
Well,
Um,
I was gonna ask that question because with the fact if you're selling Diaz and Gakpo, um, that would leave you exceptionally short on the left side of attack. You'd have Jota, who is like an out and out left winger, but then like that's the only recognized like left sided attacker that you would have. I guess you say you have Sabazlai.
like and just bring in like another wing,
Yeah,
like bring in
you'd
Morgan
have
or
to
something.
You'd have to sign somebody, right?
Just bring in Anthony Gordon. He wants to leave Newcastle anyway. And even if he doesn't turn out to be good, the booze in Goodison Park will fuel like the entire city of Liverpool. All right, the salt, the salt from Goodison Park will fuel the entirety of Liverpool.
Okay, so if I'm reading what you think on this, you may be a backup goalkeeper if Kelleher goes, a left back, and then a left winger.
Yeah,
is what it seems like to me.
a left winger would be like an intelligent left winger instead of Joga Bonito left winger. Right, like I bring me my robots back. Like,
Well, I think that there might be a robot for sale that's a left-sided attacking player at Manchester City.
oh yeah, he sucks.
He's an English robot though.
Yeah, he's an alcoholic.
Well, all right then. Okay, interesting. Well, let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you are a Liverpool supporter, let us know what you guys think. If you're not a Liverpool supporter, let us know what you think as well. Next week, I'm not sure who we're talking about next week. Maybe Spurs, maybe Chelsea. I don't know. Well, I'm going to show up and find out like you guys are going to turn on the podcast next week and find out. I will find out like 12 hours before you. But until then, drop a comment on this video. Hit us up on social medias. Down below, Whiteheart_Sean. Tamzeed, you're still at Firmino's Dentist these days?
Yep.
All right. I'm at James Tiffany. That's all on X. Collectively, we are at redcard_radio. Join the Discord. It's in the description of this video or the podcast. If you have any long form thoughts, we've been chatting about the Euros and the Copa games as they've been going on. So that's been good fun, and always have a nice chance to take a dig at Juventus whenever we get a chance in there. Shout out Will. But check back next week. We'll have another team that we're gonna go over. But until then, we will see you guys soon. Thanks so much.